And now something completely different.
Good afternoon. I'm speaking to you live just outside Los
Angeles. I like to think balding is just God's way of saying, now let's see you get laid.
Is it true that if you don't use it, you lose it?
What I'd really like to do is put the greatness of this man in perspective.
The hair loss community has a lot to be thankful for, having you as a spokesperson.
You mean you just call this guy up?
About life and about reality?
And now, America's #1 reality radio show for men. Live from Los Angeles, it's Spencer Kobren's The Bald Truth.
Hey guys, welcome to the show. 888-659-3727 is the toll-free number. Great to be here. I want to welcome all of our listeners and viewers who are watching us coast to coast and now obviously around the world online on places like the guys from Queens Network, The Bald Truth, Joe Tillman's personal hair transplant mentor YouTube page, and, of course, everyone who's listening to the broadcast on iTunes Radio, iHeart Radio, Stitcher Radio, every other online radio resource. I think I mentioned iTunes already. And for those who are actually tuning into the podcast in the future, I want to welcome all of you guys as well. This is the Hair Loss Show. I am Spencer Kobren, as the late, great Gary Coleman tried to pronounce. It's not Coburn, it's Kobren, but I chose not to correct him during the ID because I thought it was funny. But doing this program this is my 20th year doing this show. Believe it or not, started on WABC in New York City when I was a very young man, because I was a young hair loss sufferer, a guy like you, like all you guys out there, who was devastated by the possibility of going bald at a young age. And now that I'm not so young, it still fucks me up. I'm still probably not equipped to deal with it as some others are. And it's another reason why I continue to do this program, because it doesn't go away. That feeling of, even though if you're watching the program, you're probably thinking, well, this guy looks like he's got some hair in his head and he's an old dude. I like to put it out there right up front that this is a partial sham. I use makeup on the back of my scalp. I have a lot of hairspray on. I blow dry my hair. I do everything I possibly can to make it look as full as possible. And I've been lucky enough to save a lot of hair using the FDA-approved medication, finasteride. I use it in the form of Proscar, and I've been on the drug for well over 2 decades. It is the reason I am behind this microphone right now. It is the reason that I wrote my first book, The Bald Truth, and then my subsequent books, and The Truth About Women's Hair Loss. And it is the reason why I continue to do this broadcast year in, year out, no matter what, whether we're on the radio or we're on satellite radio or now that we are an internet-based broadcast. I know there's 200,000 of you guys waking up every day realizing for the first time that you're losing your hair and you don't know what the fuck to do. So where are you going? Now you're going to the internet. You go into places like Reddit. You go into places like YouTube. You're going to, it used to be the message forums. It used to be alt.baldspot, the old user groups back in the day when the internet was in its infancy. And obviously when I started, I had to do it old school. I had to get published by a major publisher. I had to get on the radio somehow to get my message out there. Now just about anybody can go out there and say whatever the fuck they want. They don't have to be experts, but if they get enough eyeballs, they are looked at as experts in whatever field they choose. And I know I'm going on a rant here, but it's something Joe and I talk about all the time. And before I continue, let me introduce the man with the plan, the original hair transplant mentor, live from our studios in Vancouver, British Columbia. It's Joe Tillman. Hey, Joe.
Hi.
Always put some pressure on Joe.
Plan.
Yeah.
Don't put me on the spotlight like that.
We actually have no
I don't have a plan.
Yeah, and by the way, anyone who's looking at this spot right here, I banged it against a 45 pounds weight plate today when I was racking some weights. So, and it hurts like a motherfucker. Just in case you want to.
Plastic hurts.
What? Plastic?
Plastic hurts. The thing on they're talking about these Instagram models, male and female with fake weights.
Yeah,
their Instagram posts. I think it's hilarious.
That's awesome. Actually, I didn't know what you were talking about, and I made believe I did, which is even funnier to me. I like to call myself out on that bullshit. But yeah, I mean, the world is a completely different place. And the information out there when it comes to hair loss is just, it's so fucked up. It's so much misinformation. There's so many guys who are being guided by whoever decides to now put up a YouTube page and talk about hair loss. There's guys out there that are talking about homemade PRP. There are guys out there that are essentially doing their own like chest hair FUE on YouTube. And people are trying to figure out what tools do I need to make this happen.
Yeah, they're actually contacting clinics and asking them, posing as a patient, like as if they're interested to come to the actual clinic. What kind of punch would you use? And then they'll give the size, and then they'll dig deeper. Like, well, what manufacturer do you use? Are you using CIT punches from Cole Instruments? Are you using ERTIP punches from ERTIP Medical and they're digging to find this information out, and then they're actually ordering the equipment themselves. I remember that one guy on YouTube. It was like, was it chest hair or was he doing leg hair?
He was doing chest hair.
Yeah, but that was like, how many years ago was that? Wasn't it like 10 years ago he was on YouTube doing that?
No, I think it was like 5 years ago.
Okay,
something like that.
But yeah, man, it's just bizarre to me.
A couple of guys want to see my paint job.
Yeah, okay. Oh, yeah, there it is. Fuck, looking good, man.
Thanks, man.
Can you guys, okay, just so you know, it looks even better in person. That looked awesome.
Yeah.
But it looks even better in person.
Well, there's not as much like harsh light in person. It's not like, there's lights right over my head.
Yeah.
So like.
But like when I was in studio though, the lights were the same and it still looked damn good, like a fucking piece of art.
It really is. Actually, I didn't paint it as much as I should have today.
You even have the part line down.
Well, I have to have the part line down.
But most people don't do that. They would just do the whole thing.
Cover the part. That is the biggest tell.
It's one of the biggest tells. Yeah.
You see these people on television, especially the women when they're using Topic. It's like, don't fucking put it in the part. You got to separate it. You got to put like a little piece of cardboard in there or something.
Or a fine tooth comb.
Yeah, and go around the part.
Yeah.
That's it. It's not hard.
You know what? I just thought of a new invention.
Yeah. Actually, I think it exists. I know what you're talking about. Let me just buy the domain real quick.
TM.com.
All right, guys. So yeah, we're the hair loss guys, and I will. There have been some guys asking to actually see it without the paint. I will rig up a bald cam for you guys and make that happen. I think it'll be fun. Let some guys make some mean tweets and some more memes about me. Whatever, it is what it is. But this is how I choose to live my life. I have made the decision not to have a hair transplant because I am not a candidate for a hair transplant. There are people that ask me all the time, and when they see me without the paint job, I'm sure that the first thing that people are going to ask is, why don't you just get a transplant? You can get it for free, or you could obviously afford it if you wanted to go that route. Why don't you do it? Well, it's kind of like the rest of the world, and the way people think about life is like they're constantly overextending themselves. I kind of liken it to home ownership. But everyone thinks they should be a homeowner. And most of you guys should not be homeowners. Because homeownership is kind of like the biggest American scam, in my view, that there is. The only people it really works for are people who are earning income from those homes. If you did the math after 30 years with the mortgage, and then even if you sold the house and the house doubled in price or tripled in price, in the end, once you give those commissions to the realtor,
brokerage firm, mortgage,
and then
bank, everyone,
and then you add up all the interest that you've paid on that fucking house, and your taxes, and the fact that your homeowner's insurance is more expensive than renter's insurance. If you actually did the numbers, and nobody will do that, you may walk away with a nice lump sum of money at the end of that time, that 30 years in that house, but you would have made more just making small, like getting a certificate of deposits at 5%, and then rolling that over every year without the stress and the hassle. It's complete bullshit. It's about overextending themselves. So anyway,
scam set up by the banks and the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers and Colonel Sanders.
Yeah. I'm a fan of owning property, but you got to make money from the property. So anyway, the reason I'm bringing this up is, everyone thinks that, there's – I like to keep shit in reserve. I'd rather be liquid in everything that I do. And in my mind, this precious donor area, while I could use some of it to fill in a bald spot that nobody could see, just to make everyone feel good, or just to say, hey, look, I got a transplant. I could be one of you guys. I'd rather save it for the future. I may
when he'll never use it.
I may never use it. That may never happen. But in 10 years or in 5 years, if my hairline recedes more, or if I start to lose hair in the mid-anterior scalp, whatever it is, I'm going to have those liquid assets that cannot be replaced once they're used. And no one seems to really understand that. They just think that why don't you just get it done? You're 53 years old. You're probably not going to progress anymore. That's bullshit. I know guys who start losing their hair at 50, and it goes like that.
I actually talked to a guy on the phone today. He's 53. He started losing like 6 years ago, 46 or 47.
Yeah.
And now he's a 5A.
Yeah, and it's funny. The young guys panic, but the old guys really freak out because they thought they got away with it.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. It's like a second round for them. It's like the
two-pack-a-day smoker who makes it to 65 and then they're 66 and they get lung cancer.
Yeah.
They thought they fucking got away with it.
Yeah. Well, this guy, he told me he was a slow thinner, and the slow recession, still had basically full head of hair for many years, but he had a slow progression. But then, like 6 years ago, it kicked into overdrive, and so he had a double whammy. Like early on, he noticed hair loss, didn't do anything. Then it's a second round of hair loss, and now he wants to do something about it. And what's interesting about his case, and this is a segue into a different subject, but something we've talked about before, is I asked him, I said, but you've been on medication, right? He goes, yeah. I said, okay, so your hair loss kicked in about 6 years ago, right? Yeah. Is that when you switched to generic? He goes, around that time, yeah.
I actually was contacted by our friend, Not Joe from Staten Island.
Okay.
And he says he's going to be calling in tonight. I know the phone lines are lit, so maybe he's on hold. But he's about to make the switch. And I told him, good luck, motherfucker.
Mm-hmm.
No, I mean, look, you don't know. But his pharmacist assured him it's the same thing.
His pharmacist doesn't know what he's talking about.
I'm just kidding. I had to say that. Listen, I understand there's a price differential. I understand. If it were me and you're listening, Not Joe from Staten Island, I wouldn't do it to save, $170 a month.
To pry that Proscar or Propecia name brand from my cold dead hands.
That's right. And why am I? The camera's not on me. That's just me. I would rather forego some meals if that was the case, or going out drinking, or going on a date. Or maybe you need to find yourself a sugar daddy. Something. I would do whatever it took to stay. To keep on that medication. Anyway, 888-659-3727. Kind of a rambling open, but
it's all right.
I don't know if the analogy was made any sense, but I know what I'm talking about, at least in my head. Let's see who this is.
I gotcha.
Yeah. Hey, man, you're on the air. Who's this, and where are you calling from?
Hello?
Hello.
It's Dante.
Dante, what's happening,
Dante,
man?
what's up, buddy?
How you guys doing?
All right, how you doing?
I'm good,
Pretty
thanks.
Good.
Haven't checked in for a while because I'm too busy, working, but I've been listening.
Yeah.
I don't have any emerging comments, but what I do notice is that I think both of you guys are really pulling a lot of people out of the closet, because the commentary and the conversation between the callers and the both of you have really stepped up. People are not afraid now to talk about their problems, their issues. Where in the past, I think, there's a lot more people calling in, getting involved, and taking an interest in the whole thing. So I think that's great.
Absolutely. I actually, I think that I will give Joe Tillman credit for this. I mean, when he kind of showed me what was happening on YouTube, I was like, all right, I got to get more involved in this, and we really got to go out there. We've got to make sure that we do this program on a weekly basis. I can't be complacent, which is what was happening in my life. I was kind of like, shit, I've been doing this for 20 years. I was kind of like winding it down. That really put fire under my ass, and we started to stream on Joe's page, and he has a very, very loyal following, and we're bringing people back. I figured, let's just make this happen. This is going to be a very big year for hair loss education, and I'm excited about it.
It's already started.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's great, because just listening to who, guys are calling from all over now, talking about their experiences, asking where to go, telling you who they've spoken to and whatnot. And I think that's just, very important. I think it's great.
Well, listen, Dante, I appreciate the kind words, and yeah, I mean, we're going to get it out there, and there's going to be more truth told. I mean, we've been telling the truth forever, but we're finding more creative ways to get the word out there, because the industry is more dangerous than it's ever been before. I've been doing this again for over 20 years, and I have never seen it so bad. And when I see what's being said on YouTube by some of these kids, and I'm not saying a lot of these guys have good intentions. I really believe that. They're just misinformed, and they are willing to. They share this information. Then there's these guys that are probably like, who are these old motherfuckers? What the fuck do they know? You know what we know?
With the teeth and the hair.
Yeah, with the teeth and the hair. By the way, I'm going to read that. I promised that I'd read mean tweets. We're going to start reading mean tweets on the program. So this is actually a mean tweet it was a mean post on Reddit. And some millennial, probably early 20s. And he's looking at a thumbnail that was posted of me and Dr. Alan Bauman. And he's referring to me, the guy on the right. And he writes, "There's something not cool about the guy who's on the right of the thumbnail. Pretty sure his teeth are fake, possible fake tan, and a hair transplant. I mean, the guy looks like a cheesy cartoon character. I'd rather be bald, fit, and normal looking than have hair and look like that guy, who totally strikes me as just an insecure jackass." I mean, for someone to even take the time to write something like that, I can imagine what this poor schmuck must look like and what's going on in his poor life.
Yeah.
That sounds like envy. That sounds like envy to me.
Well, look, I whatever it is, I've gotten shit. I got this guy says I had a hair transplant. I got guys who call me wig boy. I have guys that are out there saying that I've never had hair loss in my life. I'm just a profiteer trying to profit off the misery of others. So, I mean, make up your fucking minds, guys. Is it a wig? Is it a hair transplant? Or have I never had hair loss?
Yeah. It can't be all three.
And what 53-year-old motherfucker who makes any money doesn't have good teeth? That's just the way that it is. That's life. I'm sorry that I have nice, straight teeth. Thank my orthodontist and my cosmetic dentist.
Teeth are important. Teeth and hair, to me, are important. Unless you're really tall and you can shave your head when you're tall and thin or something. But teeth are important in hair, too.
Let me tell you something. And most guys our age, Dante, I mean, we're close in age. I mean, if they didn't make any money in their lives and they have to live with jacked up teeth, because as you get older, your teeth get fucked up.
True.
They get jacked up. They start to crowd. I mean, I had braces as an adult. I was 35 years old. I didn't go for the Invisaligns. I wanted it to be the quickest correction possible. I went for a full face, like full metal jacket, dude. I was on the radio. I was doing this show with a full face of braces. I picked up a woman in my life. Actually, no. I met her before the braces. She stayed with me.
She stayed
with a full face of braces as an adult. Two things my father told me in life that always stuck with me. You take care of your teeth, and you take care of your credit. And, you know, a lot of the other stuff he told me was, you know, nothing that I would listen to. But those two things in life, if you take care of your teeth and you take care of your credit, I never understood that as a kid. But as an adult, I really understand what he meant. That's what you're judged by in life.
Well, there are two things that my father told me, and it's not exactly the same, but it was, shut up! Go get me a beer!
See, my father smelled like Schlitz. My father smelled like Schlitz and Dentine.
I learned about those exact same things, so.
Absolutely.
Oh, man.
Dude, I would sit in Temple next to my father. He was totally like, you know that he was hungover because it was a Saturday morning. And just he used to take the stuff, that's the Sin. I don't know if you guys remember what that stuff is, but it's like these little like licorice things that, you know, people who drank took, you know, a lot. And he smelled like either Schlitz and Sin or Schlitz and Dentine. And I just could not stand it.
Oh, God.
Good memories.
So many memories from that, yeah.
Yeah, no wonder we're all fucked up. Anyway, Dante, thank you so much for being a fan of the show. I'm glad we were able to help you, you know, and not get another hair transplant, by the way. And I know you're going to get one eventually. But
I'll let you know because you still have me on hold, and I'll let you know. But right now I'm just in a holding pattern. But, you know, Vince, the thing is this. Joe's a little younger, but as long as we can keep up the fight against age, we will, because one day it'll overcome us. So let's look as good as we can for as long as we can.
Dude, I have a mark on my head because I banged it against a 45-pound plate trying to put another plate away. So, I mean, I'm in the gym, and that was a real old man move. I could have knocked myself. Those are the type of accidents that happen that, you know, like all of a sudden I have some sort of like, you know, bleeding of the brain, you know? Like when you're our age, anything could fucking happen. Because that shit hurt, man.
How were you bending over trying to pick it up?
I was bending over putting a plate. You know how the plates are racked on the side? So the 45s are up top, and then you got the 25s and the 35s. And I'm putting a 35-pound plate back on the rack, and I just banged my head. Like, bam, right in the corner of the 45. So it wasn't like anything fell.
It was just like you just kind of bumped into it.
No, I actually bent over full force and banged into it.
Ooh.
And somehow did not drop the plate on my foot that I was holding.
Yeah.
And I don't even play. At this stage, I don't even play it off anymore. I'm holding my head. I'm like, can somebody help me?
Like, fuck.
You know. So,
you're not trying to shake it off, yeah.
No. Because you never know. Maybe there's I got a lawsuit. I don't even know. Maybe some guy's going to hand me a card and say, look, I saw what happened. You know. So, all right, dude. Dante, thanks a lot. Good luck.
All right, thank you.
Always good to hear from you.
Thanks for calling, Dante.
Take care.
Amy, I'll be listening.
All right, great.
All right, buddy.
888-659-3727 is the phone number. 888-659-3727. Give us a call if you want to talk about hair loss, if you want the reality of what's happening, if you don't plan on doing a DIY PRP treatment. This is probably the place you want to contact. Or if you do, I guess if you do plan, you want to contact us as well. But, you know, we're here to provide you with the truth. That's it. A lot of interesting stuff happened over the and I'll take your calls in a second, guys. A lot of interesting stuff happened over the weekend. You know, one thing that I don't do, I don't allow anymore on Bald True Talk message forums, and you lose a lot of traffic when you do this. A, there's no back end, so there's no PMing system. But B, we decided that allowing people to discuss the bullshit products that are going to come to market as a way of just maintaining traffic and allowing people to have false hope only to be disappointed was probably a bad idea. And usually those threads get kind of ugly. People are throwing memes in them, all kinds of stuff like that. So I made a decision about maybe 2 years ago or 3 years ago that we're going to kind of slow that down. Now, there was a huge defection from Bald Truth Talk to some other sites because of that. Everyone was like, we'll get you, Kobren, and that just, I'm somehow like stifling the truth. What I'm stifling is, I'm stifling nothing, but what I'm trying to control is false hope. And, we were talking about Brotsu lotion.
Yeah.
And, I know, believe me, there's two things that happen in this industry. If there's something real, I will be contacted by, say, Angela Cristiano or somebody else in the world of science to say, listen, we're going to send you this stuff. It's going to be embargoed, meaning that I can't, put it out there on the air until the paper comes out. But as soon as it does, we'll come on the program.
Right.
Also, we used to have the scientists come on the message forum until everyone drove them away. And basically they said, look, we don't have time to deal with these crazy people. So I said, You know what? Fuck it. I'd rather you not deal with them.
How sad is that? Like the actual scientists that these people are excited about are coming on the show to talk about what everyone's wanting to know, and then they're getting hammered.
Yeah.
By their
I refuse.
fans.
I refuse to interview these people. I don't want them to. There's no point in putting them in the crosshairs. I mean, when you have people who are out there talking about your tan and your teeth,
that's fine.
These scientists can't take. They're being called liars. They're being called con artists. I mean, these are the real deal people. So
your results failed because you're paid off by big pharma.
Right. So when the guys who are like on their last legs trying to maybe make a fortune for their grandchildren are out there announcing shit that they're going to be selling. There's thousands of pages on message forums about it. And I'm looking at this, you're telling me about it, and I'm just like, this is just, how many times has this happened in our career? Why would I allow that to occur on my side? So all these 21-year-olds are basically saying, Joe, you're an idiot because you don't know anything about this product.
Yeah, because I don't know anything. Yeah, I must be talking about something else.
Right. And we're all idiots. And wait till Saturday, because then when the news comes out, you guys are going to be out of a job.
Yeah.
I got news for you guys. I'd love to be out of this job. I would love to get the fuck out of this job. I never need to work another day in my life. All right? I'm sorry if that sounds obnoxious. That's just the reality of my world. I would love an end to hair loss. I don't want to paint my head anymore if I don't have to. There's nobody here that wants this to end more than me. I make no money off of Merck's Propecia. And if hair transplant surgeons stop paying to be on the IHRS and there's no more hair transplant surgery, I promise you something else will roll out that I'm going to need to kind of like be the watchdog over, and I'll make even more money. That's how it works. Anyway, I'm sorry for all you guys who had your hopes and your sights set on this new lotion that will not and probably never really get you to where you want to be with your hair.
And that was an interesting few days when because I knew that this Brotsu lotion.
And guys, I'm sorry. Hold on. We're going to take your calls in about 2 minutes. So hold on.
Announcement was coming because some of the other YouTubers were talking about it, and then I asked Dr. B about it, Dr. Bauman, when he was on the show a few weeks ago, because he's into the research side of things, and it just seemed to me as like this all comes from the talking about JAK inhibitors, where the patient with alopecia areata, areata, they applied this lotion, not Brotsu lotion, but this other formulation that had JAK inhibitors to his scalp. Completely bald, like I don't even think he had eyebrows, and he had a full head of hair.
Right.
And so I believe that's where this was coming from, and so the only I mean, there are a lot of differences, but that was the baseline similarity. And
these guys were replacing JAK inhibitors with like liposome, all kinds of, I haven't, I could look it up, but once you start seeing that, and it's based on different research, and here's the number one thing that you guys need, especially you young guys, you need to understand. No one puts anything out as a cosmetic if they have any chance of it actually working and becoming approved. You have to understand that there will be pharmaceutical companies who say, you know what, we're not going to have to spend tens of millions of dollars to get this through the pipeline. People are stupid enough to buy the product if we can show that it may grow some peach fuzz. And we'll sell it as a cosmetic because we don't need to spend the money. These guys are going to buy it anyway. So just because a pharmaceutical company or a company, say like L'Oreal, for instance, gets involved with one of these players does not mean that these products are going to help you in any way.
If there was a real impact.
Again, I didn't put the camera on me again. Jesus Christ.
That's okay. Hey man, keep it on the pretty side. That's all right.
I hear you.
No, but if this was a real product, like it had a real impact, make no mistake, there will be big pharma companies jockeying for position, fighting over this. They would gladly pay the millions of dollars to get it cleared through FDA and Health Canada and the EU equivalent, so that they could say that it went through FDA, Health Canada, and the EU equivalent, because that's a huge marketing benefit.
Absolutely, it's the biggest.
And it would be the biggest justification to say, yeah, this works, and it's good. It's good.
And it would not just be something that's talked about in the underworld and the online world of
the backroom
message forum world. That's just not the way that it is. So I've chosen, and it was a tough decision to make because the traffic was pretty intense in our cutting edge section. But essentially, there were a couple of guys who were just going out of their fucking minds. Guys who were like, you were trying to raise funds to go to these conferences, like they were going to get any real information for anybody, to help anybody. And then they ended up going to another forum and bashing what we did. But the sad part is that, we're out there trying to just give people advice that's going to actually help them. Not all of you are going to be helped. The cure, it's on the horizon. But I got to tell you, it's not as close as you guys hope for. And there is a company out there that is going to be working on a real JAK inhibitor product. And we'll see if, in fact, they have any luck with androgenetic alopecia. According to Angela Cristiano, and I can have her on the show anytime. I can record with her. She'll fly out and come to the studio. We'll hang out.
Sorry to interrupt. You should clarify who she is because some of these guys probably have no idea.
Angela Cristiano is the Columbia University scientist and full professor who discovered the first gene ever linked to hair loss. The name of that gene was the hairless gene, right? Mm-hmm. I think that's it. Yeah, back in 1997. She also happened to write the foreword for my book, The Truth About Women's Hair Loss, and she is currently the leading scientist in the world when it comes to researching both alopecia areata and androgenetic alopecia. So, this chick knows her shit. And believe me, I would have gotten a phone call saying, hey, let me tell you about this Brazzi lotion.
I like the voice you just did.
Yeah.
Hey.
It didn't happen. It did not happen, guys. And I'm not trying to sound obnoxious that I know all these people. I've just been doing this for so fucking long that, and these people trust me. They will send me stuff that's essentially embargoed, where I can't, they know that I'm not going to get it out there on the message forums until they actually have their paper published. And I'm not going to talk about it. So for all you guys who waste your time in the forums, busting everybody's balls, hoping against hope that these lotions are going to come out and you're going to be saved, you are not. One day you will. But that day is not coming too soon. Now, we'll see. We'll see what happens with JAK inhibitors, topical JAK inhibitors, and what the potential of adverse side effects are. But, that may work as part, the inflammatory process of hair loss. But, what are you guys going to deal? How are you guys going to deal with the DHT aspect of things?
Right.
And maybe a better 1-2 punch used with the finasteride, and then people actually may be able to grow a full lot of hair back. That would be awesome. But you guys are too shit scared to use finasteride.
They were saying this whole Brotsu thing, Brotsu lotion thing, that there were
this thing is throbbing on my head.
The professor, the doctor Brotsu, was including DHT inhibitors in the formulation. So it's like, what does that even mean? And what people don't understand is that it's not whether it's a natural product or a synthetic product. DHT inhibition itself is what causes potentially the side effects.
Right. Oh, interesting.
What I felt was interesting about the Brotsu lotion presentation, I got a friend that was actually at the presentation because circles you and I run in, we know all these doctors on a first name basis. And I messaged and I was like, so you're
the circles we run in.
Exactly. Yeah. The circles we run in. So I was like, tell me what's this presentation about? And the response was terrible.
Yeah.
And then the second one was really unreliable information. That's what said it all for me. Yeah. And of course, the photos that were presented too were just laughable.
It was fucking pathetic.
Yeah.
And that's the way it's always going to be, guys. You will know. I promise you, you will know. Now, I would like to say that people will be on this program first, but honestly, it'll probably be on the mainstream media once the cure is out there. Then they'll give us a shot. That's just the way that it is. When if it's through Columbia or if it's through University of Pennsylvania or if it's through university in Japan, whatever it is, you're not going to be everybody's digging up all the information, putting it on the message forums, and starting these 1,000-page threads. What you're doing
that mean nothing.
Well, what you're doing is you are helping to feed somebody, which is great. There's nothing wrong with that. But you are not helping anybody. You're giving people false hope. It's sad, but it's true. And believe me, I was one of you. Back in the alt.bald spot days, I'd be sitting there reading this stuff like, I would actually take information from alt.bald spot. I had, contacted Dr. Go back in the day. We were talking about Cohen Go's hair multiplication on my very first broadcast 20 years ago.
I was going to say, you got to put that in perspective. This is 20 years ago, people.
Right.
The exact same thing is going on today was going on more than 20 years ago.
Right. And I remember, and then maybe like 5 or 7 years ago, 8 years ago, there was some crazy shit going on with Go on my forum. And then I was being called a fucking shill, and I was being called every name under the sun. And people were just like thinking I was trying to somehow, put a stranglehold on this new technique because I was going to lose all of my money from all of my strip butcher doctors and all that stuff. What happened with Dr. Go? I don't know. No one's talking about him anymore. Why is that?
He went away.
That's just the way that it is. And you know what? I don't even dislike the guy. I like the guy. I've interviewed him. He's very nice to talk to. He somehow believes in what he's doing. Good for him. Whatever. All right, guys. 888-659-3727 is the toll-free number. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this, and where are you calling from?
What up, Spence? This is Rob from Florida.
What up, Rob?
The token black guy.
That's right, man. Token black man.
What's going on, man?
What's up, man?
Quick question for you. I don't want to take up too much of your time. The Derma roller, can you guys give me some feedback about that, on your thoughts on it? And
like this one?
Also, what's that?
Like this one?
What'd you say?
He's
like this one. Can you see the? Are you watching video?
Oh yeah. I see it now. It's delayed, so I had to mute my video, but it's delayed when I'm on the phone with you guys. Yeah, exactly, like that one.
Yeah. Well, and I'll let Joe talk about it because he uses one, and I used to use one actually on my face for a while, and then I just said, you know what, this is a pain in the ass. I'm not going to do this. But I mean, the theory obviously behind. There's two theories, derma rolling or derma stamping or whatever is that it kind of creates these micro wounds that essentially do two things. Supposed to create or activate collagen creation. And when it comes to hair, it's supposed to actually, when it's going through the healing process, it is also bringing growth factors along with the collagen and healing process to the areas of the scalp and to the hair follicle that need it the most. Now, I have seen some evidence that just straight derma rolling can help. Maybe grow back a little peach fuzz. I've seen some guys who believe that they have slowed or stopped the progression just from straight derma rolling, not even adding anything. But then you got the bleeders out there. You got the guys who will derma roll to the point where they are bloody and scabby, and then they're putting Minoxidil on. And, I'm just, I'm not saying that I'm not a fan of it. I'm saying that I believe that it has to be done conservatively, and there has been some evidence showing that it definitely can help. But it's negligible in my view. I think it's best used with PRP, which helps to activate the growth factors.
I see.
Also, a lot of people who just do PRP alone, not doing a transplant, there'll be other ways to activate, like with the use of thrombin and stuff like that. But Joe, you have a derma roller, so you can talk about your experience.
Yeah, well, I think that what you said is perfectly put, but I think also the reason why there might be some benefit to it, it's not just the growth factors from the micro wounding. I think it's just the increase in blood flow that happens with any wound. The body sends more blood to the area, right, to deal with it, and it's just that's the way that Rogaine works, right? It increases blood flow. And it's on a much smaller scale. I think that you got to find the balance of frequency. Like I'll use it. I'm not so consistent with it lately because it just gets old. Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, it just gets old. But I think that like twice a week is fine.
I'm actually reconsidering starting to use like under my eyes again. I stopped. I was just because it just gets red and irritated, and then it's like, it's just a pain in the ass. But I definitely thought that I was seeing a slight change in my skin texture, and this was years ago. This was like 5 years ago, and now I'm like getting much older. So it's kind of like maybe I'll give it a shot before I go under the knife for the first time.
I think that. There are very basic benefits to it that are real. And like Spencer said, he used it on his face. I actually did too. I was telling Spencer about this a couple years ago where I had a sunspot under one eye. And I did in addition to a couple other things, I used derma roller, this very one that was given to me by Dr. Cooley after my PRP. And I used that to help remodel the skin. Yeah. And it worked. It's gone. It's never come back. It's, I'm happy with it. I think there are a lot of benefits to it.
Yeah. I definitely think that there's absolutely something to it. I just, I don't like to get people overly excited about it when it comes to hair.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I see what you're saying. I got you.
And just to throw it back at the hair issue, I will say that when I am consistent with it, it seems like, and I only use it in the crown, on the part line. It seems like there's a bit more of a, you can almost call it undergrowth, of smaller hairs underneath the transplanted hairs, because my part line, on one side it's all native hair below it, and then on the other side it's all transplanted hair. And so I'll derma roll like along the part line and a little bit on one side of my crown, and it seems like there's some undergrowth, a little bit of a boost from some peach fuzz that comes through with that and helps to bolster it a little bit. When you got little things like that, you notice the little improvements and the little losses, right? So every little victory is a big victory.
Definitely. All right, sweet.
All right, dude. Listen, I wish you best of luck, and you're not getting another transplant, are you?
Nah, man. I just got the top of the Masterite actually in the mail today. I used it for the first time today.
Oh,
and
good luck.
Check that out and see if there's any type of change, in like about 4 or 5 months and see what happens.
Well, you know what? Keep us abreast. Also during the process, like if you're feeling anything, if you're having any adverse side effects. I know that if I remember correctly, you kind of wanted to utilize it along with maybe lowering your oral dosage. Was that it?
Yeah, I had mentioned to you when I was on call when Bowman was there that I was having a little bit of testicular pain, but it kind of went away. I don't know, so I don't know. It could have been just that time, or it could have been, after sex or something. It was, I started to get, I don't know what it was, but I mean, I don't feel anything now in that same area that I was.
That's great.
So I don't know. I'm keeping an eye on it.
You don't feel anything, or you mean if you don't feel any pain? Because you want to feel something.
I don't feel any pain.
Okay.
I don't feel anything. Of course I feel something.
All right, good. All right, man.
No, but I think I'm going to stick with the 1 megagram of finasteride oral and then do the topical once every evening and see exactly if there's any type of change over the next few months and see what happens.
Well, yeah, let us know, and because there's a lot of people obviously who are very interested in the results of topical finasteride. I will tell you that I am a believer, as Joe is, that all topical finasteride is not created equal. Period. And so, I mean, you want to make sure that you're getting it from a really good source.
It's the same one that actually Bauman gets his place. I called Bauman's office and got the pharmacy's name and called them directly. Then I went to my physician, got a script from him, sent it up to the pharmacy, and they sent it down. It was $175 for a 3-month prescription, and it was a $10 shipping fee. So $185 on my.
And I love the fact that he just gave you the name of the pharmacy, and that's the way it's supposed to be done.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
All right, man. Well, listen, keep us abreast of your situation. Wish you the best of luck. Always good hearing from you.
Yeah, absolutely.
You too.
All right. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Thanks. Phone number is 888-659-3727. Give us a call here at The Bald Truth. Any questions, concerns about your hair loss? We do have people on hold, but I want to play some audio for you guys. Maybe I'll do it during a break because it's about 5 minutes. But it's about the fact that we talk about how not all PRP is created equal, and the reality is less PRP than you realize is actually doing anything for anybody. We're at the point now where it could be up to 95 or more % of PRP that's currently being promoted and administered today, whether it's for facial rejuvenation or hair loss, will do absolutely nothing for you except empty your pocketbook. And I was lucky enough to have Paul Rose, MD, JD, by the way. He's also an attorney. On the program, did an interview with him. We put it on the IHRS website. It's also going to be on the new YouTube channel, which is Hair Transplant Podcast. So don't forget to subscribe there. It really talks about the reality of PRP, and he actually conducted a relatively small but a pretty thorough study, and they tested several of the most popular PRP kits or systems on the market, and essentially found that most of the kits that are being used will not increase growth factors to any significant degree, meaning they don't fucking work. So you may be getting your blood drawn. It may be being separated into plasma, but it ain't platelet-rich plasma.
Or it ain't rich enough in plasma.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
In many of the cases, there was no change. We're talking about from the biggest and more expensive systems and the ones that so many doctors are using.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm talking about doctors here in Beverly Hills who are big plastic surgeons doing these vampire facelifts that they're calling it. And these poor women, the only reason that they're getting any change is because they're being filled with fillers. It's not the fucking PRP that's doing anything because you're not even getting PRP.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable to me. And kind of funny and sad.
Very sad.
I don't mean to laugh. To me, it's like I'm a due diligence type of dude. I don't just take anybody's word for anything. And that's probably why I had the wherewithal not to get fucked up at an early age, like so many of my contemporaries and, angry people who are still online who ended up having, hair lifts and flap surgeries and scalp reductions and, plugs and all that stuff. When I was doing my research at my age back in the late 80s, I also had the money at the time. I was an entrepreneur. I was kind of in a unique situation for a 21-year-old kid. So I already had some level of success. I could have paid for anything that I wanted. And I chose not to have those surgeries, as fucked up as I was about my hair.
What? That was a lot of restraint.
Well, I would have been walking around with 4mm plugs in my hairline, like two horns right now.
Yeah.
Sticking out. That's what would have happened. And I just chose to continue to research and make it I made it my life's work. I made it my mission to find out and uncover and unturn every fucking stone before I made a decision. You know what I decided to do? I sit back and suffer because I thought that the alternative of getting something done would have made my life a lot worse. And you know what? I was fucking right.
Well, sure. I mean, you would have had horns and paint today.
It would have been, or scars from having the horns removed.
And I want to, and real quick, I want to address something that the Truth, that's his name in the chat room, the Truth.
Yeah.
Back to the derma rolling thing. Someone had asked, "Can I derma roller the scalp after a hair transplant?" I said, "Absolutely not." And so the Truth came in and said, "You mean a few months after the transplant?" I mean, no. I mean, I'm talking like 8-9 months, because one of the things that I can't stand is when people go get a hair transplant, they spend $10,000-$20,000 unless they go someplace cheap, and they try to do things to make it better without even having the final result. And I think that is one of the biggest mistakes people can make, and one of the biggest mistakes people have made is to try to influence the final outcome without knowing what they're getting into. And when you start damaging the scalp after it's already been damaged several thousand times with these incisions, and you're waiting for hair to grow, and that's the ultimate goal, nothing you do is going to make it any better, but it can make it worse. So don't do derma rolling or patch rolling, the alternative, the stamp.
Derma stamps or pens.
Derma stamp. Yeah. Don't do any of that after you've had a hair transplant. Don't switch your medical regimen. Don't start adding Rogaine, or don't stop taking finasteride or anything like that.
Don't be an idiot, he's telling you, essentially.
Pretty much.
Just stop it. You just spent $15,000 on a hair transplant.
Nothing you do can help it, but a lot of what you do can hurt it.
Let it grow.
Let it grow.
888-659-3727. Hey, you are on the air. Who's this, and where are you calling from? Hello?
Hi.
Hey.
This is Warren from Hawaii.
Warren,
how are you, man?
Welcome back.
What's up, man? Yeah, I'm glad to get through. Thank you, Joe, for looking at my pics. I just wanted to give a quick update. I'm just about on the 7th month now, almost, and I feel a lot better because the front seemed to thicken up like magic in just 3 days. I don't know how that worked, but I'm able to comb it and style it, and I feel a lot better.
3 days?
Yeah, I don't know if it was just I had to cut it or something, but
it might have been. You sure it wasn't? Yeah. It had nothing to do with the fact that Joe said it's not as bad as you think it is?
That could be part of it.
Yeah.
But
you did get a haircut though?
Yeah, I cut a little bit, and it seemed to look better, like where it's not so see-through. I think what it was is maybe some areas were longer than the others or whatnot. But it seemed to thicken up a little. And I just wanted to let you guys know I feel a hell of a lot better.
I'm really glad to hear that, man.
Yeah, because I was really at a low point when I called. And I feel a lot better. And like Joe mentioned, I dodged the bullet because my donor area looks pretty good. Still yet.
Well, Joe actually contacted me about your case. And I try my best not to speak to him unless we're doing the show. But, you know, he felt it was important to reach out. And It was a joke, by the way, Joe, as you know, kind of.
Yes, I know.
But he did say that you were really lucky that you look completely normal, that you certainly dodged a bullet, that your donor looks great, and so I'm glad you found us, because at least you're not walking around second guessing now, saying, well, "What the fuck did I do?"
Yep.
Yeah. And I just wanted to call in and let guys know. I know it's tempting because I know it's exactly, you hear this every week, is, now that I feel confident again and it looks good, you always have that 1% bug biting you saying, why don't you just fix the back now? You know what I'm saying? And it's like, because I have that bald spot in the back, and I'm like, I'm not going to risk that again. You know what I mean? There's no way I'm going to risk that again.
I'm glad you've come to that conclusion. I hope that you never call and we have to talk you out of getting it done.
No. I just wanted to ask a small, quick question, though. Do you guys think that I should just keep on the Propecia and not add Minoxidil to the crown, or you think I should do both for double whammy to see if it'll make it smaller? From what you saw, Joe.
I'll let Joe.
At this point, don't waste your time. Just maintain what you're doing and live your life. Don't add anything else that will just be one more thing that you have to remember to do. With Rogaine, if you're going to do it right, you're going to do it twice a day.
Right.
I'm a big believer in keeping it simple. One of the worst things I hate is just adding layer upon layer upon layer of complexity to an issue like hair loss. It's like if you can do something simple, if it's every day, that's fine. But what's more simple than just taking a pill once a day? Put it by your toothbrush every morning, or on your nightstand every night, and take it before you go to sleep. I mean, it's simple. But with Rogaine, traditionally, you got to put it on twice a day, and it's messy, or the liquid or the foam or whatever, just a pain in the ass. You're not going to do really anything for the crown that Propecia is not doing already. You might get a small boost, but is it going to make a difference for you? Like, are you going to be happy with 5 more hairs on your crown? Probably not.
Yeah. Right.
I think that the key for your, I want to say I guess your happiness moving forward with this is find that sweet spot for length with your hair. That's what you apparently found after you had a haircut. You've got the length where it works. When you're dealing with with transplanted hair, you don't have the luxury of going to any different length like you did when you had a full head of hair. You have to find a certain length that works for you. And as you, like, if you shave your head and you let it grow out for, say, 7 inches, you'll have multiple spots where it works really well, and multiple spots where it sucks. It looks wiry and just nasty, and you just thin and just horrible. So you got to find those spots and maintain that specific length, so you got the best look going for you. And it's tough in your situation because you didn't have a whole lot of hair transplanted, and it was a fairly large area. I think a shorter style probably works best for you. And kind of brush forward so it layers on top of itself like shingles on a roof, and that would give you the best coverage.
Yeah, kind of like I've been doing kind of like a full hawk modified kind of thing going on. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but obviously, dude, like Joe said, I mean, at least the way he communicated to me, you dodged a bullet. You're in good shape, and so I'm really glad that you were able to find us, and at least you can live your life in a way that you don't feel like, well, obviously you didn't need the transplant because you were a head shaver for so long. At least you know first now that you could be comfortable with yourself and that you look good.
Yeah.
And you're not living with that regret. What was that?
Yeah. I was going to join the Spencer ranks and I'm just going to paint that bald spot. That's what I'm going to do.
Dude, you know what? Shit works. If you find the right product that works for you, it really does work. And that's a trial and error thing. And Joe did a great video on the different concealers out there. And I know he's going to be getting another concealer soon to try, possibly.
Yeah, it's coming.
Yeah, I'm straight up makeup derm match dude because for me, in order to get that part line, in order to do it right, I need that shit like on my scalp. The fibers work great, but I find for me, it's too much coverage, and a lot of guys make a mistake when they apply the fibers because they don't show any scalp. They don't show a part. And you see that on television all the time, especially with women. I can see a woman wearing Topic from a mile away on television. A lot of these anchor chicks probably have thinning hair or a thinning part line. They're wearing extensions to the point where they're losing their hair anyway. And then they're wearing Topic or one of these other products. And it just looks, you know, I mean, I guess most people wouldn't notice it, but it just doesn't look right, in my view.
Yeah.
Well, listen, man.
I just wanted to share a quick funny story, super fast. It'll make you guys smile. But I know I won because I went to the pharmacist the other day to pick up my twins' medicine, and there's a cute girl that works there or whatever, and she sees me all the time, and she looked at my ID, and then she looked at me again, and she goes, "Wow, you look great with a shaved head and hair." And I was like, "Yeah, I've been shaving it for a while." And she goes, "Man, well, at least you don't have a bald problem." Yeah. You know?
Nice. That's a good feeling.
There you go, man.
I was like, winner.
Yeah. Look, that's how I feel.
I just wanted to share that.
I talk to chicks at bars, whatever it is, and the first thing I do, if someone gives me a compliment on my hair, I go right into the whole nonsense of painting my skin. People are just like, what? You know?
Yeah.
Like, cause I like to see people's faces, their reactions. They gave me a compliment. I know, okay, in their eyes, they think they're looking at a guy with a full head of hair, but they have no fucking clue. So let me see what their reaction is. Usually it's pretty good. Sometimes it's funny. Like
yeah,
they don't even understand, like, why would you paint your head? You kind of have to explain it.
Yeah.
Anyway, dude, I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you so much,
All right,
guys.
you take care.
Thanks for calling, Warren.
All right.
Bye-bye now.
I'm just cutting them off. Sorry, dude. 888-659-3727. We'll take one more call, and then we're going to take a break. During the break, I will play the audio of the video that I did with Paul Rose, and I think it's really important that you guys hear this. Hey, man, you're on the air. Who's this, and where are you calling from?
Hey, Spencer and Joe. It's Dave from New York. How you guys doing?
Hey, Dave from New York. We're good.
All right, good. So, Joe, I asked that question in the chat about Rogaine foam after a hair transplant.
Yeah. Yeah. So you started that 3 months after?
Well, about 30 days after the hair transplant, I started putting Rogaine foam back on, like every day, once a day. And you think I should be worried at all or no?
Well, okay, so back up. You said you started putting it back on. Were you using it before your procedure?
Yeah.
Okay. That's a different story because if you're used to it, like if your scalp is used to it, and make no mistake, it does affect your scalp. Like your scalp does change physiologically because of minoxidil being applied every day. The tissue, it becomes almost like, for lack of a better, it becomes like greasy or almost like gristle of a steak. It's really bizarre what happens to it, but you're probably told by your clinic that you can resume minoxidil, whatever form it is, 2 to 4 weeks after your procedure. Is that what they told you?
Well, you know what? In the post-op instructions, they didn't say anything about minoxidil or anything like that. But then I did a quick Google search, and I saw that there was just an overwhelming response from doctors. And actually, Dr. Feller himself, I had my transplant with Dr. Bloxam, and Dr. Feller answered a question on Real Self. He said that, the guy asked if he could put on foam after the transplant. And he said,
Real
that's
Self.
fine. Yeah,
Sorry.
I know. But listen, but I mean, whatever, I know.
Yeah.
But, Dr. Feller said, actually, I ask my patients to use it as an adjunct after hair transplant. So
we're venturing into territory that's a little bit different, but sometimes doctors will recommend that patients start taking minoxidil after procedure, even if they've not been taking it beforehand. And some of them will actually say only use it during the initial first few months of recovery. I think that, and this isn't to any specific doctor, but I think that's asinine. It's like, why would you start a medication that's designed to help grow more hair or thicken existing hair only to stop taking it several months later? Guess what happens? Anything that you gained goes away. So why would you do that? That is like I can't even express how stupid I think that is. But the reason why some clinics will tell you to start minoxidil and some will encourage you to use it afterwards long term is because the increased blood flow can help with the healing. I mean, more blood flow is always good, right?
Right.
My challenge with people, look, without minoxidil, without finasteride, a properly performed hair transplant is going to grow great. Okay. Nothing's going to make it grow better, in my view.
Okay.
But when you start adding things after the fact, and I'm talking like usually a couple months after, not 1 month, but even 1 month, personally, I think it's kind of borderline. I think that's encouraging potential confusion about what's actually going on. Because you're waiting 8 to 12 months for the final result of a surgery. So you want to be able to say that that's completely successful, right? So if you start introducing other things into the mix, into the equation, then you start losing sight of what's really going on. Well,
right.
I mean, I've had patients start finasteride, before surgery, and in minoxidil before surgery, and then they have their surgery, and then 3 months after their surgery, they stop one or both treatments, and guess what? All the hair that they did have is gone, and all they do have is a hair transplant, or all hair is transplanted from the surgery, and then they're upset because they lost all their native hair. It's like, well, it's thin. Of course it's thin. You lost your native hair, right? And so when doctors are placing in between native hair, they're not going to place it at high density because there's hair in the way, right? So they're going into the gaps.
Right. I don't really look at it as like adding like a bunch of lotions and potions. Like it's just, minoxidil. I'm not like adding all kinds of weird creams and oils and stuff like that. It's just minoxidil.
Yeah, I get that. But even I don't care what it is. Even if it's proven to work, I think that I'm a big believer in steps, like measuring out what you're doing and observing long term, or relatively long term, so you know it's actually working. It's like I don't like it when people start minoxidil and finasteride at the same time, because you don't know which one's going to work. If they're both working, great, but if only one's working, you have no idea which one it is.
And that's something that we have been, or at least I have been, and I know Joe probably has on his own, been preaching. Or can I get to that? For many years, most doctors will prescribe finasteride and minoxidil together. I'm talking about for patients who are going through the initial throes of hair loss. That's a really bad idea in my view. I understand the whole 1-2 punch approach, but how do you know what the fuck is working? And then if you are getting a response, you will be terrified to get off one or the other drug.
Yeah.
My advice as a non-physician is always you go for what we know really works for the long term, and that's finasteride first. I personally think minoxidil is nothing but a Band-Aid, and it will usually lose effectiveness over relatively, I think, a relatively short period of time, and that could be 2 to 3, maybe 4 years. There are people out there, and doctors claim that it does not lose effectiveness ever, but the reason why it might is because you're really not. You're dealing with a vasodilator. You are temporarily keeping hair in an anagen phase, as opposed to blocking an enzyme that's converting testosterone into dihydrotestosterone, which is what is really shrinking those hair follicles. So if those hormones are too strong, and they usually will overtake the minoxidil effect, it's kind of like, okay, well, now what? I had 2 years of putting this shit on my head. I'm losing more hair. I'm afraid to stop taking it or using it. There was a time when Rogaine was a sponsor of The Bald Truth when I was on the radio, and I actually weaned myself off the product while they were still sponsoring the show. and basically said that I wasn't gonna use this anymore because I don't think it's working for me at this point. They continued to sponsor the show for another year because I don't even think they were even listening. But I wanted to let people know the truth. I think it's a Band-Aid. And personally, I mean, you had your transplant. I think what Dr. Feller is saying, in my view, is, you know, a lot of these guys, they want to kind of increase the visual boost of their work. And the way that can happen is with the use of minoxidil, but it's only temporary.
And I think also the other danger with this, Dave, is you know, a lot of people don't think about the temporary shed that can come about from using these medications at any time.
It's frightening too.
So if you're going to, so you're already in a very delicate mental and emotional state. So I don't know how much hair you have, you know, natively, but how are you going to feel if, you know, you start your medication after the surgery and you not only have the grafts that are shedding, but all the hair on top of your head falls out too because of shock from your medication. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but that has happened. It happens to a lot of people.
Right. That's if you're starting it, though, right? I mean, I'm kind of like in the still using it now. Like I've been using it for the past 5 years, so
that's
the
key question. Yeah, because you know, how long is too long to be off of it before you get back on it? Because you know, you've been on it for 5 years. That's great, but you've been off of it for a month before you restarted. So is there going to be some sort of resetting of the cycles because of it? I've seen it happen.
Gotcha.
I've seen it happen. So bottom line here, okay, follow your doctor's instructions to the letter. Okay. Talk to them about this. And if you're concerned about it, let them know. But follow his instructions to the letter. I'm not a doctor. I'm just telling you about my experience. Spencer's not a doctor. He's telling you about his experience. You are their patient. Follow their advice.
Gotcha. All right, I'll email him tonight. So you don't think I've done any damage to my results at all, do you?
Well, no, I don't. I want to be clear. I don't think this is damaging your results as far as the transplant. My concern about this stuff is what it does to your existing hair throughout the process. And you know, this all started. We're talking about derma stamps and derma rolling. I think wounding the scalp after it's already been wounded like crazy with thousands of incisions, I just think it's a bad idea. You're creating a new environment that the surgeon didn't plan for. Not that he could do anything about it anyway, but and I'm speaking generally. You're introducing a new level of complexity into the healing process, and I don't think that's a smart thing to do.
All right, man. Listen, we wish you the best of luck. Keep us posted. I kind of also have a feeling that, you know, since you've been on it for 5 years and you were only off it for a relatively short period of time, there is a good chance that you're not going to see any adverse effects. And you're already on it now. So, I mean, it's kind of like you don't want to stop.
Yeah.
You know,
so you think I should keep going, huh?
I wouldn't fuck with it. You've been doing it for 3 months since, you know, I mean, don't fuck with it. Everything.
Yeah, in the fourth month, I've been doing it for 3 months. Yeah.
Everything is rolling, right? Everything's cool. Just stick with the plan. Don't screw with it now.
You're into the fourth month, but you've already been using it for 3 months. You started 1 month after. Okay, yeah, keep going.
Yeah,
absolutely. But like I said, follow Dr. Feller's instructions.
Yeah, do not fuck with it now.
Dr. Bloxham.
Well, I mean, he didn't give me those instructions explicitly. I mean, I went online and I just read like a couple of comments that he made about the topic, and I just took my.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's right.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But I got to say, I mean, like I said, I'm 4 months and from 3,500 graft, and I'm looking at it now, and it's pretty good. I mean, I had no hairline before, and just stuff is filling in. It's looking really, really quality. So I'm happy with it so far.
This guy trained with a real quality doctor. So like I told you, I mean, I got nothing against this guy, and I'm pretty sure you're going to have a very good result. So
okay, But I mean, listen, there is a gap like right behind the hairline, like that's not filled in yet, and I'm kind of concerned about. But I guess it's 4 months.
Don't be.
Like,
I wouldn't get the pitchforks out just yet. I you know, give it some time.
Yeah, you got plenty of time for that to fill in.
Yeah, because they usually want you to come in for like pictures or so you can take a look at it.
Sometimes around the 4 month mark, you got the guys with the torches and the pitchforks online, just going fucking nuts.
Yeah,
I know.
You're going to be okay, and there's a good chance you're going to be just fine.
Yeah, because I look at the guys that are at 6 months with like a lot of their after photos,
Yeah.
I'm saying, like, do I have a month to get to the way that they look? Like, I hope so.
Let me. Okay, so
she could just start popping tomorrow. Like all of a sudden, you'd be like, "Holy cow!"
A lot of the guys that you see online that are showing their 6-month results or any results, they're showing their result like pictures taken in their car or, in their living room with light from a window. All that is so unreliable. It's like there's so much shadowing going on, and it looks nothing like that in person. So don't look at these guys and be envious and start questioning your own result. That's the downside of people sharing their results online is they're not taking the right photos, and
it's like hair porn, man.
It is like hair porn.
Yeah,
it's like some of these chicks you see in real porn. It's like you see them in person and be like, eesh, But yeah. Anyway, don't worry about it, dude. You're fine. Just give it time.
Yeah.
All right, man. Good luck.
Cool.
Good talking to you.
All right, thanks, guys.
Take care.
Thanks for calling.
All right,
guys. The phone number is 888-659-3727. We're going to take a quick break, about 5 minutes. But during the break, I want you guys to listen to what Dr. Paul Rose has to say about the current state of PRP, how it's being promoted, and unfortunately, some of the misleading information that's out there. Most of you guys who are out there getting PRP for hair loss are probably not getting PRP. And I would say greater than 95% of you women out there, if you happen to be listening to the show and have had one of these vampire facelifts, which includes PRP and fillers, the PRP probably did absolutely nothing for you. And it's a very, very sad state of affairs. Freudian slip there. And, I see these guys online, some very well-respected plastic surgeons pimping out PRP for hair loss now, and it is sad to see what's going on. So hopefully this information will help a lot of people. Take a listen.
Spencer Kobren's The Bald Truth.
One of the things I'd like to discuss with you, Spencer, is the use of platelet-rich plasma.
Okay.
As you probably know, many people are advertising the use of platelet-rich plasma. We see it in everything from orthopedics to cosmetic surgery.
I don't mean to cut you off or laugh. When you say everybody, I mean it is like an epidemic here in Los Angeles. There are, honestly, I'm not even joking. There are vans parked on the side of the street promoting PRP for hair loss. Yeah.
I can believe it. It's it's covering every part of your body from your joints to your genitalia.
Yeah.
It's quite peculiar.
Oh yeah, there's a guy here in LA. He calls it the pea shot, and making all kinds of claims. And believe me, there are guys who are willing to be injected down there if they think that they can get just a half an inch.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So the point I'd like to raise is that while people use the same acronym PRP, and we talk about platelet-rich plasma, the platelet-rich plasma from one institution to another institution or from one system, as there are many PRP systems, can be quite different. And I actually did a small study myself where we tested about 6 or 7 different systems. And what we found was that some of the platelet-rich plasma systems actually did not even concentrate the platelets to any significant degree. So people are injecting PRP, and the patient has no idea what they're getting, nor does the clinician even bother to know what the patient's getting in terms of concentration of platelets, and whether there are red blood cells, whether there are white blood cells. There are so many different permutations for the use of PRP that unless we start talking about the same things, we're not going to really be able to compare results. So my point is that we use a system that's been very reliable. As I mentioned, I tried 6 or 7 of them. And the system that we use seems to concentrate platelets anywhere from 6 to 12 times the normal concentration. And we test every patient before we draw their blood. We know what their platelet concentration is. And then we test the platelets once we have obtained them. So the next day, if the patient wanted to, we could tell them what their platelet concentration actually was. And I think that's important. And we can tell them how many red blood cells. We can tell them whether there were white blood cells. That's a little different study, but we can do that.
Well, I mean, it's beyond just important. The one thing that I've always been saying, and I do believe in PRP therapy or treatment for hair loss, but not all PRP is created equal. And frankly, most of what people are offering, and now you have essentially been able to demonstrate this with this study, is complete bullshit. They're not helping anybody. They are just re-injecting, a person's own blood back into their scalp. So they're going through the process of having the blood drawn. They're going through the process of having all these needles injected into their scalp, and there's no benefit. And they're also probably on average of about $1,500 out of their wallet for absolutely no benefit.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. And the thing becomes that patients really are just not aware of these variations that occur. And so it's quite possible that, as you mentioned, you could be getting nothing. And that would account for some of the variability in the studies. You may know that a few years ago now, I think Dr. Puig in Houston did a study for female pattern alopecia, and they found that their results with PRP were very disappointing, that they didn't get much of a reaction. And then you look at other people who've done studies and you get, very nice results.
Right.
And in our hands, we're getting very nice results with the PRP. But I would say in almost all the studies, very few of these people are comparing the same systems. And unless you're comparing the same systems and doing these counts, I think you're going to be far off. And there are other considerations as well. How deep do you inject? How much do you inject at each site? Is there an inhibitory concentration? We haven't answered these questions, let alone what protocol should we be using. Some people inject every week for a while. Some people inject every month. And there are variations all the way, to once or twice a year. So
yeah, I was just
those answers yet.
I was just at a conference where one dermatologist from Texas, and she actually gave one of the better talks, I'd say, from the talks that I was that I actually was able to watch. But in her protocol is kind of load patients up, do one procedure a month for the first 3 months, and then do it quarterly. In her practice, the claim is she's getting pretty consistent results. But with that said, we have no idea. Was she using an open system or a closed system? Is it an FDA-approved system? Is it, what exactly is being used?
I always hear a lot of guys calling in, and they're always like, down and out about their haircuts.
Sure.
I lost my hair when I was 16 to 17 years old.
That's heavy.
Oh, man, I'm sorry to hear that.
No, it's all good, man. And the funny thing is that I've learned to overcome it, and I've had I'm much more empowered to be myself now.
Well, I admire that.
Oh no, it's cool, dude. Let me tell you, it took a long time.
I wanna scream, I wanna shout, I wanna know.
Hey guys, welcome back. That caught me off guard, man. I had to run to the desk. So it was kind of abrupt. So listen, for the guys who are, who are used to watching the broadcast or listening when we have a lot more production and music and stuff like that, kind of had to cut that out for a while because we are on Joe Tillman's YouTube channel live as well, and they are pretty tight when it comes to what triggers their copyright infringement issues, where even though all the stuff that we have I own, they don't necessarily know that, and it's going to be a constant fight. So we're going to be working on some new production for the show. So, look, we're doing the best we can with what we got.
It's a big thing to challenge, like if they put a big flag on it, for copyright infringement, it's a big thing to challenge it, and it's a whole process. So it's just like,
yeah, well,
don't worry about it.
Go on the show, just do it dry. It's a big deal. Production's fun. It makes for the show. This was a radio show for many years. But, we will, we'll get back to that point when I have some time. Right. Anyway, the phone number is 888-659-3727. I understand Andrew Zarian was trying to call in, and he didn't know why he couldn't get through. You couldn't get through because the phones were busy, motherfucker. That's what happens.
Yeah, that's the way it works.
Yeah, so if you want to call in now, Andrew, there is a line open for you. So I know you just disappeared from the text.
He gave up.
He's like, it's a replay. My phone isn't working. Dude, there's a dial tone for you. Unbelievable.
But others can call in too.
Yeah. Guys, phone number is 888-659-3727. We will stay here for as long as we get calls. And if we don't get any more calls, I'm calling it a night. We took plenty of great calls tonight. We did an hour and a half program. And I got a bump on my head, which I like to put some ice on. So, we do this live broadcast for you.
Is that ice in a glass of scotch?
It might be. What is that David Lee Roth quote? I tried to start running, but the ice cubes kept falling out of my glass.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah. I'm cutting back on the drinking.
Me too.
I'm really, I will get loaded once in a while, but it's just, it's not as fun. It's not as fun as it used to be. And then the next day is always bad. It's just like, I don't want to do this. It's not part of my life anymore. Yeah, I like to have a beer. When Dr. B was here, I hadn't really had a drink in so long that I had the beer. I was a little loaded after my first beer. And then we went out afterwards, and, I can say that we had a very nice time at the restaurant. The man likes certain high-end scotches. And I guess he forgot that, didn't realize I was going to be paying for the meal, but, I'll just follow that away. Just kidding. Just kidding,
Remember
Doc.
for next time. Yeah.
888-659-3727. Let's see who this is. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this and where are you calling from?
Hi, this is Dave from Brooklyn, New York.
Dave from Brooklyn, New York. How are you? You got some pipes on you, dude. What's up?
What's going on, Corbin?
Yeah.
I just want to thank you guys for everything you do. We really appreciate it. I think I speak for all of us when I say that.
Well, I appreciate that as well. Dude, are you in radio or something? Because you have an incredible voice.
Takes one to know one, right?
Well, thanks, man. Listen, you're like Art Bell, and rest in peace. You're like the Art Bell of the Ball Truth now, man. I mean, you got a really, really cool voice. So what's up?
We just lost Art. He died 3 days ago. Did you hear?
He died 3 days ago, 72 years old.
Sad.
But you know what? He died in a great place. He died in Pahrump, Nevada, where prostitution is legal. And I can guarantee that. I'm not going to say, I don't know, but I mean, if it's legal, why not take advantage of it? Just saying.
Well,
seems like a great place to retire.
Hey, guys, I don't know if I'm allowed to. Could I name one of the doctors that I'm considering for transplant?
Absolutely not. Of course you can. That's what the show's about, dude.
Okay, well, now, obviously you guys know a heck of a lot more about this subject than myself, but I can't help but be somewhat interested in this guy Erdogan in Turkey. Now, I know the technicians are doing all the work, but is it possible that this guy is like one of these trailblazing, Svengalis? He seems to constantly update his technique. He's at, all the seminars and everything. I'm just wondering, is it possible that he's running this really tight ship and somehow they're getting it done over there? Or would you guys still say, always go to the doctor no matter what?
Well, no, actually. I think he is getting it done over there. And there's a lot of great work coming out of his clinic. And he's a guy that is, like you said, he's always willing to up his game. And Joe, I think you have a good story.
Well, yeah,
about him recently upping his game.
He's not afraid to change if he sees something better. It's interesting. I did a video on the use of microscopes. It's actually the title was Celebrity Hairline Disasters: The Kyle Christie Effect, and it's gotten a lot of attention. I've gotten a lot of contacts from clinics. Some of them saying, "Why the hell would you make this?" and others thanking me for it. Dr. Erdogan apparently had been he had actually gotten one microscope into his clinic because he I can only assume that he was talking to one of his colleagues that already has them, and so there was a discussion going on online where someone was saying, well, they're not that important because my doctor didn't have them. I saw one in the actually he said I saw one microscope in his clinic, so I know that he's using it, and he's talking about Dr. Erdogan. And I was like, well, that doesn't make any sense because you can't have one microscope taking care of 4 patients because he does 4 patients a day. And, there's a lot involved to using a microscope. So I contacted Dr. Erdogan. I know him personally. And we're text messaging back and forth. And I asked him, I said, so, someone said that they spotted a microscope in your practice. And he goes, well, I've got one. And he started using it 3 months prior to our discussion, and he really is a believer in them. And he told me that he had ordered 10 new microscopes, and with this video that was out, and I mean, I guarantee people were asking him about it. People were even online talking about asking him about it. He made the announcement that he's switching over to microscopes, and this is a huge deal because for 15 years. No, not 15 years. For 10 years, FUE clinics have been saying that they can cherry pick finer grafts. They can cherry pick the single hair grafts for soft and feathery hairlines, which is complete horseshit. And no one can cherry pick, to the point where all their hairlines are going to be feathery soft because it's just not physically possible. You're only dealing with a specific kind of donor hair that's available, and nape hair, which some clinics will talk about, is so unreliable for so many different reasons. That's a whole nother discussion. But the great thing about Dr. Erdogan is he recognized the value of microscopes. He's made the switch, and he's going to, hopefully take some time to really get to learn how to use them properly and incorporate them into the practice on a daily basis. I think it's a strong move.
And it is a strong move. And you also have to understand that, I receive, I don't know, 5, maybe more, some weeks, applications to the IHRS from Turkish clinics every single week. And there are new clinics popping up practically daily. Now, this is not making use of hyperbole. This is the truth. I've shown Joe these applications, not all of them, but some of them. It is crazy. If I just wanted to open up a site for Turkish doctors, I would make several $1 million a year just from that site. They all have checks in hand because they work on volume. Dr. Erdogan is one of 3 doctors that I've allowed onto the IHRS. So I think it really speaks volumes for what he does and how he's been doing it for a long time. And making this improvement only shows that he didn't have to do a thing. He didn't have to incorporate microscopes into his practice. Now, let's be honest about things as well. He saw the potential economic pressure of not doing it, and also just that it's being talked about. He saw the economic leverage and advantage of saying, hey, you know what? This is a really good idea. I'm going to evolve.
Yeah.
As opposed to, taking a stance and not evolving. So that puts him in my view, in an incredible light as far as just marketing himself. It's brilliant, So
just for the basic value of the marketing perspective,
right.
it is invaluable. But to get back to your question about is he a trailblazer, I think that he's a really smart guy. And there's some things about his approach that I don't entirely agree with, and it's not the technician issue. I have no problem with technicians as long as they know what they're doing, as long as it's done the right way.
I would lay down for certain technicians before doctors any day, and doctors don't want to hear that.
I'll put it to you like this: if I were going to a clinic where I knew that technicians were going to be doing the work, I would insist on knowing who these technicians are.
Right.
I would be asking for their qualifications. Just because they work at a great clinic doesn't mean that they weren't just plucked off the street 5 days ago and are going through training, right? You owe it to yourself. And this isn't for this particular clinic. This is for any clinic that has technicians doing the procedure, this is the way I would do it, and I don't see why anyone would do anything less. Insist on knowing who these people are, knowing what their qualifications are, what their training is, and even asking for results that those particular technicians are responsible for. Because when you have – this goes back to like the chain clinics of even today, where you can walk into a clinic where there's multiple locations and you'll be shown a book of results. But what you're not told is that the doctor on the other side of the country did the procedure, not the doctor that's in your clinic. It's exact same concept. So, when in this case, when you've got a team of four teams of technicians doing the procedure, which one's responsible for which result? I would personally want to know. And I think that it's your right as a patient to know as well, because you're going for a specific name, but there's so much more behind the name. There's the team that does the work. And but with regards to his being a trailblazer, I think that he's extremely intelligent. I think that he's very forward thinking. He's worked with other doctors on different aspects of what he's doing. He incorporated lateral slit technique from Dr. Wong. He worked with Dr. Lorenzo on coverage value. He came up with his KEEP system, which is a variant of the Lion or Choi implanters, which are not sharp. They just, they're just placement pins. Very, very simple things, but very effective, right? And his clinic is fucking awesome. It's probably the nicest clinic I've ever been in, and he's broken ground on a brand new clinic. I don't know any details about it. I haven't talked to him about it, but it's probably going to be a monster. So yeah, there you go.
There you go, man.
Joe, just one more thing. Since you're in contact with him, this throws a bit of a monkey wrench into the conversation. But unless I wasn't understanding what I just saw a video, and this may have been an older video, so maybe he's refined his technique once again. But he seemed to be indicating that, in regards to FUT versus FUE, I think he's basically doing FUE. I know the technicians, I guess, are, and he specifically said that he's actually taking hairs from the nape and the side because he says it gives more natural hairs versus the quote unquote sweet spot in the back.
Well,
So
I'm gonna let Joe give his opinion, but I will tell you that, and I say this all the time, or I've said it several times. What a lot of people don't realize is that we actually have more than one hairline. We essentially have a hairline over each ear, a hairline, nape and neck, and of course, frontal hairline, and you have your temporal peaks. Those are all hairlines. And when you notice someone who's going significantly bald, NORD 6, NORD 7, you will always see that the nape, in most cases, will start to miniaturize as well, and hair over the ears, which is sometimes used and called softer hair, and used, for hairline areas. So I am not a fan of using nape hair and promoting the fact that this is a really good option to create a softer, more natural appearance, because I don't think that you're dealing with, in many cases, hair that's going to last a lifetime. Joe, you can give your opinion.
Well, I've seen attempts at using nape hair. I remember seeing, the shock on my face must have been hilarious. I remember seeing a guy that had a strip along the nape of his neck to get to those fine hairs, and it worked for a few years until they fell out, and they fell out because the actual hair on the nape of his neck also miniaturized like crazy, and the strip scar was clearly visible. There's no way to hide it because there just wasn't enough hair anymore, and that's just a natural part of the process. And so I say to people that are asking me this question, and it's all the time, or when I see people talking about it online, I don't care what a doctor is telling you. If it sounds great, awesome, but you have to ask for evidence. It's like I have talked to so many. Classic example of body hair. Like, this doctor says that he does body hair all the time. Great, have him show you 5 cases. Usually they can't do it. So if any doctor is telling you, well, we make softer hairlines by using hair from the nape of the neck, great, show me 5 results. Period. That's all it takes. If they can't show you 5 results and they've been doing surgery for 10, 15 years,
right,
it would make sense that they could show you at least 5 results. I have a big problem with people. A lot of this is bandied about on forums and stuff where people talk about this. They'll pick up the torch, so to speak, of what a clinic will tell them or what they interpret they're being told, and they'll expound on it and blow it up to where it has a life of its own. The body hair thing issue did that for a while, 10, 12 years ago. The nape hair subject did that as well around the same time. It's not new. I mean, people have been talking about it for 15 years. To this day, no one on this planet can show me a single doctor that's done nape hair hairlines with any sort of consistent results or reliability. I've seen a couple. They didn't look so hot. They looked thin, where the work shouldn't have looked thin, in places where the density should actually be higher. There's some growth, no question about it. But no one can show me consistency.
Did you ever figure out a longer way to answer that question?
Not even remotely, because I got this is something that bugs the shit out of me when people talk about this stuff. And Dr. So-and-so says this. Great. Show me 5 results.
Look, I call bullshit on anything until I see it for myself. That's what I've been telling people for years. Now, obviously, Dr. E is part of the IHRS. He pays a membership fee just like everybody else. It's certainly not in my best interest to say, make sure you check at every technician, make sure that you ask to see cases of nape hair, whatever it is, because, these guys are, some of these guys are thinking, well, wait a second. We're part of this organization. We're paying you, a screening fee to be part of this organization. Why are you telling patients to give us, a hassle? Well, because the patient that walks through your door who actually is educated is going to be a much better patient in the end if you decide to have surgery with you. And if you don't like it, you go fuck yourself, and you don't become a part of the organization. Now, I know that sounds harsh, but that's what we're here for. Every doctor who supports the IHRS understands that I have my truth. I'm here to tell my truth, and that's the truth. And if they're unwilling to support that, then that's all part of membership. And sometimes they're going to lose patients because Joe and I, or I will do this myself, essentially tell somebody they're probably not a candidate for a hair transplant. And the doctors who spend the money to be a part of the organization, they support that truth. And that alone, I think, really speaks to the character of an IHRS member.
And you know what?
Go ahead.
Just wanted to, I'm sorry. When I first started listening to the show, I asked myself, what in the world are these guys doing? I thought they'd be pushing something. You're not pushing creams, you're not pushing pills, and you're not even pushing surgery. And I told my girlfriend, I said, I don't know how these guys make money. I don't know what they're doing.
Well, thank God for Simon & Schuster and McGraw-Hill and everyone who's bought my books over the years, and thank God for the IHRS and some of my other investments. But
we appreciate. Yeah, we appreciate everything you do. Honestly.
Well, listen, we're here to tell the truth, and listen, you'll know when I sell out, and I'll tell everybody. They're good.
That's the thing. We'll be honest about it.
There'll be a big hair club for men's, ad, and that's it. You guys, you figure it out yourselves. All right, man.
When I'm sitting here with a fucking laser helmet on my head, live on the show, I've sold out.
That'd be awesome. We should actually just do that, shirtless. Okay, guys. We're gonna take another call. I wish you the best of luck, man. Thanks for the call.
Thank you.
Take care. I had some pipes, dude. 888-659-3727. We have time for another call. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this, and where are you calling from?
Hello, Spencer.
Hello. Not Joe from Staten Island. How are you?
I hear you talking about hairlines. Nape hairline, front hairline. You forgot about the most important hairline, the taint hairline.
My name is
Joe from Staten Island.
My name is excuse me. My name is
Would you like to reiterate it?
My name is
Have you heard it? Excuse me, Barry.
My name is
Joe from
Thoughts?
Staten Island.
Poor Joe, he just disappeared.
Yeah.
The guy he's off the face of the earth. He just checked. He was just like, you know what? Fuck these guys.
He's gone fishing.
Yeah, I don't like Joe Tillman, and I'm never calling the show again.
Yeah. Call us, Joe.
Well, in honor of Joe from Staten Island, I was on one of those dating websites, and I got catfished into a chick with a crank. So it really made me, come back to those fond memories in the past.
That's
what I'm talking about.
That's awesome. Did you get a? I mean,
I didn't go so far as to meet this person.
Oh, okay. So you didn't actually feel the crank.
No, but there was pictures exchanged, and I thought down there looked a little bit sketchy.
Yeah.
And
like it wasn't. It was more than a camel toe. Is what you're saying.
It literally looked like a deflated nuts and a cut off penis pushed inside of itself, kind of a thing. And but I was like, but she shot it from she shot it from an angle, which I couldn't 100% detect if it was a job, but I had a feeling, you know what I'm saying? Like it was something weird. It was shot from a bird's eye view, not really close up, but now that I know, I can definitely see it,
Wow.
And the worst thing about it, I mean, I didn't meet the person, but there was a lot of talk and there was a lot of pictures sent back and forth. Not a lot, but a few pictures sent back and forth. And the worst thing is it was like, I think I digitally met this person like in October of last year. And so, every once in a while, they'll text me and I'll text back. And then I'm like, we're supposed to meet up. We never meet up. And then I'm like, finally, I just called them out to that. I'm like, you have a secret. I know you have a big secret. You got to tell me. No, I don't. Even said they had a child. Probably had a child when they were a man. And I found out today I was really kind of like, what a waste of time. I'd rather have, met them in October.
So wait a second. So you just found out today?
Just today.
That she was a man.
Maybe 3 hours ago. Well, she said that she was born different. And I said, are you TS, which is, it's transsexual. Said yes, kind of. And I'm like, how are you kind of? Penis is already technically a kind of.
yeah, exactly.
Well, maybe she was like a hermaphrodite.
I don't know. I didn't stick around after that. I was like, well, I encourage you to, lead with that next time because some people aren't into it, some people are, and you'll find what you're looking for. And that was that.
Jesus.
But
thanks for calling.
Yeah.
Great way to end the show.
How was her hair?
Homage to Joe.
How was his hair?
Fantastic, actually. Very share-like.
Really?
Silky black. Yeah.
Extensions.
Long.
Or a wig.
Yeah, I was trying to think about that myself, but I mean,
how awesome would it have been if you met her and like she had like a 5 o'clock shadow, she's wearing a wig, had a bigger crank than you.
Well, I have a better story to tell you. I was like, hey, so I mean, I'm not for violence or anything, but I think that's just wrong. That's just wrong. Like if guys did something equivalent to girls like that, misleading to girls, it would be heinous,
Oh,
but,
of course.
Oh yeah.
It's technically a guy doing it to another guy, basically.
Absolutely.
So it's like.
Well, but so many guys they feel like this sense of shame that if they went down that direction, even accidentally, it fucks them up psychologically.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I knew this one kid that I grew up with he was a kid. He was like 15 or 16 years old, lured into this person's apartment, and he was actually making out with this woman. She was an older person, or he, and guy had a cock.
Oh, dude.
Totally fucked this kid up.
Chick had a cock.
Yeah.
Not guy had a cock.
Yeah. It was a chick with a cock, and like, I think I would be a different type of a kid. I would have been like, who knew? And then I would have moved on with my life. He had to see psychiatrists. It was a whole thing,
I can imagine.
Think that person sized them up before they made out with him and said, well, if this goes south, I could take him.
Very possibly.
How do you get that ballsy or whatever?
Well, all I know is that he ended up wanting, and I was like, I'm not doing that shit. It was like an old walk-up apartment in New York, and everyone was going up and like trying to kick this person's door down, and I'm like, That's some fucking violent shit, man. I'm not into that. That's criminal bullshit.
Yeah.
I'm keeping out of this. I'm like, I'm sorry you felt some man's dick, but don't get me involved.
You're my friend.
Don't bring that around here.
Mouth, your hand and his dick it had nothing to do with me.
Look, let me tell you something. I'm a bury the body friend, whatever it is. But I mean, this is not a bury the body situation. This is like, you felt some guy's dick. Get over it. That's it.
Yeah, move on.
Yeah.
Now, if he was raped by that person, that's when
that's a different story, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the real reason I called is I went down to Target to get my new prescription, and there was a really cute Asian girl there, and it's so funny because we're picking up that medicine at the counter, and I'm looking, I'm like, Jesus Christ. So I take off my baseball cap just to show, hey, there's hair out there. It's not that bad.
Right.
And she's like talking to me. She goes, so you don't want they always are pushing the generic. They're pushing it every time. And I'm just like, nope. And she got me to listen because she had these really beautiful eyes and everything. And she's like, so you don't want the generic? And I'm like, no. I go, you don't really know what's in those things. I mean, you do, but you don't. And she's all like, well, they're 95%. The ingredients by law have to be 95%. I'm like, well, aren't they made in different countries and different? I don't know where it's coming from. She goes, the inactive ingredients are different. She's trying to break it down, all the stuff we talked about before.
Right.
But I'm like, I go, what's it, like $8? She goes, well, it's like $9. And I'm sitting here looking at this $178 bill for the same thing, supposedly, right? But it's not. And I've been on legitimate ProScarf since the inception that I've called this show.
And you have a legitimate full-looking head of hair, by the way. Since I haven't seen you in a long time, but unless something's changed, you look like you have a full head of hair.
It's not anything that, it's not. I don't think anything's drastically changed. I mean, my psychosomatic, when you look at something, you kind of see it forward. So I started combing my hair a different direction. So you start to see a little bit more, a different way of your hair. Anyways, so I went with it. I went with the generic, and and immediately my dick fell off. Just fell right off.
I was going to say.
So I'm going out with the TC girl and the TS girl.
Well, now it makes sense.
As soon as they put the pill in, it just.
Now, was this an actual pharmacist, or was this the pharmacy technician that was able to talk you out of using?
This was the pharmacist. No, right. This was the white coat, lab coat pharmacist.
Well, I will tell you this. Look, I've spoken to many pharmacists, and pharmacists have led me in the wrong direction. I think I hear myself in the background. So.
Well, I'm trying to cover the mic from the wind. But go ahead. It might have ricocheted yourself. I could. Go ahead.
So, I mean, I've heard a lot of things. I'll give you an example. Common law is asthmatic, so she has to use a albuterol inhaler. Now, for some reason, and this bill was signed by Clinton, obviously many years ago, they decided, instead of taking aerosol out of hairspray and all that stuff, they decided that for the environment, that they were going to stop producing aerosol inhalers. So they use another mechanism to get the pump out. People online everywhere, they're suffering. They can't breathe. And pharmacists are saying that it's the same thing. And meanwhile, you go online, and initially, common law was having a problem with this. She wasn't able to get the dose. It's got to be shot down your lungs. But every pharmacist that we spoke to was like, it's psychosomatic. It's the exact same thing. It's just another way to deliver it, whatever it is, blah, blah, blah. It's like HOA or HO, I forget what it's called. Long story short, all kinds of stuff online, kids having to be hospitalized. There's probably some deaths caused by it. When you think about, the mindset of like, you have so many things that come in an aerosol can. Why would you choose something that could save somebody's life to change over? You realize what the Clintons are really all about. But anyway, that's something I really don't want to get into politics. But the bottom line is, I don't trust fucking pharmacists.
Yeah.
That's it. That's just the way that it is. They don't know shit. They went to pharmacy school. You know what they learn how to do? They understand how to administer drugs. As you know, they know how to read prescriptions. And I'm not saying pharmacists are dumb or anything, but you know,
they're just not trained in this stuff. That's not their specialty.
That's it.
They're not molecular scientists, and they're not the person who puts all the drugs. Like they don't comprise the DNA of the drug or whatever you.
100%. And, you know, you just don't know how your body's going to react. Now, with that said, I have a friend who's switched from generic to generic, from regular to generic, and to any generic that he gets, and he's doing great. He's my age. We were born the same year, and he's been on the drug for well over 15 years. Started on brand name. You know, he never had a problem switching. And then there are guys who do. That's it.
So the active ingredient, finasteride, 5 milligrams, is in the tablet. That's at least the 95%. The other ingredients are delivery mechanisms. Is that what it is? Or
no, usually they're fillers.
I mean, how do?
Usually they're fillers.
Just to kind of make the pill whole.
Yeah, there's coatings and there's fillers and there's different supposed inactive ingredients that do actually change the molecular makeup of the drug. Now
it can also be contamination.
Right, exactly, depending on where you're getting it from. So, and also, the one thing I hate about generics is that you never know what generic you're getting because the pharmacy essentially just makes the best deal that they can, and you can be getting, Teva generic for a long time, and you're doing really well on it. And the next thing you know, you're getting some generic from India and the pharmacy is saying it's the same thing. And you're like, wait a second, my pill used to be blue, now it's white. And you're like, no, it's cool, it's the same thing. And people do, with drugs that are actually, I'm not going to say this is this is a lifestyle drug, but I'm talking about drugs that actually affect your life, life or death situations.
Your physiology.
Yeah. People have had issues going from brand name to generic or from one generic to another generic. And anyone who says that's not the case is either uninformed or just lying to you.
Well, so bottom line is,
you fucked
take
up.
The risk.
No, I'm just kidding. No.
Well, my plan was to sit there and say, well, you saved me $170. How about we spend this on a date tonight?
Yeah.
But then
that's what I was going to ask. Take the savings and take her out that night.
I was totally going to do it, but when I came back, she was swamped. And I was just like, Jesus, I'll get you next time.
Yeah, she's probably got a kid. She's probably got a kid at home.
The ironic thing is I take her home and my dick don't work. It's your fault you sold me that goddamn generic.
Well, I would say that, listen, we're not, I don't want to sound like we are, generic haters or that that you should be in sort of panic. And I don't want you to have any type of, psychosomatic issues by making the switch. There are plenty of people who make the switch and they do just fine. So you have to keep that in mind as well. I'm a brand whore because it's the way that it is.
It
and
takes
also
the guesswork out of it.
Of course, there are those that switch to generics and all their hair fell out and they, spiraled into a never-ending depression.
Right.
So let us know how it works out.
Yeah, good luck.
Good luck.
Well, then you'll send me that laser cap. Right?
Yeah, you have to pry it from my cold dead hands.
No, we'll send you. He'll send you a link to the laser cap so that he gets credit for it.
But I won't tell you.
What were they selling them for? They were $3,000 when they first came out. What are they going for now?
Some of them are $3,000. Some of them are $800. Some of them are $700. It depends.
Yeah,
they're such simple circuitry. It's literally like, you can 3D print one.
I can get them for $8 in China and put the American Hair Loss Association seal on it, and make a fucking fortune.
Spencer, I will pay $178 for that. The amount of money I save on this generic.
Dude, and that's the thing that people would do that. Say we have a $200 laser helmet, and it's the only one that's approved by the American Hair Loss Association. Boom. I'm living on an island. Fuck all you guys.
Well, save a spot for me. I'll bring the TS girl with me.
All right. You know what? Listen, I'm getting older. You never know. I don't give a shit. You know, you only live once, dude.
There's someone in the chat room, Jay Jones. He's like, Joe, I thought you changed your mind about the laser. I did. There's effectiveness with it, so we're just joking around.
Yeah, and that's why actually I may have a laser helmet at some point. We actually may be selling something on the show.
To all the listeners out there, whenever we talk about the laser cap, imagine Dr. Evil with his quotation fingers up saying laser cap.
Laser. Exactly. And his sharks are swimming around with these ridiculous looking helmets.
All right, dude. Listen, we're gonna call it a night. I'm glad that you called in. Honestly, you made the decision already, so I wouldn't worry about it. And you're probably gonna call us back and say everything's just fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll let you know.
Yeah.
I wonder how it's going to turn out with the pharmacist tech.
Yeah, let us know what you're not going to go back there. You're too scared.
No, I'll go back there.
All right.
I'll go back there. It's going to be a while. I don't have a reason to go back there.
Why not?
You need to go back and have the box and say, look, I'm sorry, but I was actually looking for my penile reduction pills, and this is not it.
Yeah.
But you know what? Then you got to measure up at the end of the night. And
no, you don't. Not if they have enough drinks.
To be honest, I'm in the average zone. We're in the average zone over here. Respectful. It's respectful, but it's
yeah.
It doesn't need a reduction.
I actually go the opposite. I'll say like I'm hung like a thumb, and then they're surprised. So
I say hung like a baby.
All right, man.
There it is. Carrots and apples. All right, man.
All right. I'll talk.
Have a good
I'll
night.
talk. Great talking to you, man.
Thanks
Take
for
care.
calling.
Okay. All right.
Bye. All right. Bye. I really would like to call it a night, but we have calls on the line, and you want to take one more? One more? All right. Hey, man, you're on the air. Who is this, and where are you calling from?
This is Maurice Wiggs from Brooklyn.
Maury.
Hey,
what's happening?
Hey, what's up, man? How are you guys going? I'm sorry I missed the broadcast. I just literally called in. I'm coming away from the synagogue. I'm praying for my dad. So
oh, wow. Okay.
Tuesday kind of for me. Yeah, well, Anyway, so I'm calling because I sent Joe an email and he didn't respond, which is surprising. I'm guessing he wanted me to call in.
Probably. You're probably being a pain in the ass.
When did you send it?
I think I sent it probably midday today.
Get the hell out of here. Seriously? You sent it midday today and you're calling because I didn't respond yet? Jesus.
No, not at all. I'm calling because I
got
wanted
stuff
to call
to do,
you guys
man.
anyway.
Let me do my day stuff. I'll get to you.
No. I'm going to ask the question here to just get it
fair
over
enough.
with. So, and that was kind of the reason I was calling. So, I made my decision. I called Carlos Wesley and I made an appointment to see him for an initial consultation. So I just wanted to share that with you guys.
Very cool.
I'm going to be going to see him for the first time on June the 14th.
All right.
I called in. Yeah.
He's booked like crazy for consultations, isn't he?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, it's like I called today in April for a June initial consult. So,
right.
Yeah. So, I first discovered him through you, Spencer.
Sure.
And the video that you did on the Piloscope, I think it was called, the Piloscopy thing. And I thought that was genuinely interesting.
And did you tell him that? Did you say, hey, look, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Kobren?
Oh, I will as soon as I see him. All I did was talk to his secretary.
Yeah,
so, so the reason I'm calling...
he's a really nice guy, and he's definitely somebody worth seeing and having consult with.
Cool. So that's good because initial consult with him, he basically just to talk to him to have initial consult, he's charging $250, which I had read. I think it was on Yelp. They talked about there was a couple of people who were a little pissed they had to lay up money up front. And the guy who was complaining talked about $100 initial consults. It's $250 now. I wanted to get a take from you guys whether that was, that's just the way things are. This is just a common, what do they call it? Regular and the legal term for it is just regular and accepted, or is this just the way things go?
Well, I can tell you this, that unfortunately, and I say unfortunately, because hair transplantation has been commoditized to such a degree that everyone was pimping out free consultations. Come in, shit in the back of newspapers. Come in and get your free, no obligation consultation. Like you're fucking buying a fucking car. I mean, when you go and see a doctor to get checked out, you expect that to be free? Like, okay, I'm going to come and get checked out, but I'm only going to pay you if I'm sick.
That's a great way of putting it.
Yeah, I mean, does that make sense? So I don't even understand why people are complaining. You know what? I tell every doctor they should be charging for consultations. You are fucking doctors. And when you charge for a consultation, the only people who are really interested in potentially having surgery with you are going to be, they're going to do more research, first of all, because they're not going to want to have 10 consultations with people and put out $2,500 for consultations.
Right.
And by the time they reach your door, they've done so much research that there's a good chance you're going to sign them up and they're going to be a good candidate for surgery. So
not to mention, sorry to interrupt, but not to mention, it filters out the people that are just coming in for a finasteride prescription, which happens all the time. I think there are free consultations.
Yeah,
it's like you could fill up your day doing consultations for people that have no intention of taking advantage of any of your services. They just want that prescription and go get it from their pharmacy.
I'm not a fan of free online consultations. First of all, the majority of these consultations aren't even being conducted by a physician, and I think Joe would attest to that.
Sure.
I mean, this is fucking surgery, man. That's going to affect the rest of your life. So yeah, I mean, is he on the higher end of consultation fees? Yeah, but you know what? There's a reason for that. It's because he can. It's what the market bears in his world.
I called you guys. I wanted to make sure that this was customary because I don't know what the customary charge was, and if you're telling me that it's high but it's not unreasonable, that's a perfectly good answer for me.
Yeah.
So thank you for that.
It's not exactly customary because a lot of clinics are doing free consultations, but it's because they feel like they have to. And this is a holdout from, 15 years ago.
I think these guys are idiots.
Really started. What's that?
I think the guys that are still doing free consultations are idiots. They're desperate.
Yeah.
And I think it's a really bad move. And I think it really cheapens what hair transplant surgery is.
Yeah. So you could probably find, like throw a rock and, hit 10 clinics that are doing free consultations near Dr. Wesley, but
no.
Do you want to go through that?
I picked Wesley off of the IHRS. I picked Wesley because I watched the Pilofocus video that Spencer put on. I also watched the videos that he did on PRP. He did a video on his what he did for PRP. I've been to his website. I read about the stuff that he did with again he does his own flavor of topicals. So he's got a lot of very interesting things going on his website and services, products that he offers. And you know what? I mean, what the hell? Like, thanks to you guys, I'm still not fully convinced I'm going to, go under the knife. But I figured, let me at least talk to this guy. Let me find out what he has to say. I like the guy because I looked at all the other people in New York. I looked at True. I looked at Bernstein. And for whatever reason, this guy strikes me as, again, the fact that he's an inventor kind of like rubs me the right way. And, so, and thank God, $250 I can throw down for it.
Well, here's the good news. You could have your consultation with Wesley, and you could also then go and have some free consultations and see what, make a, even a further assessment. Joe, we lost you. And I think it's great that you feel comfortable and you're in good hands with this guy, and he's probably going to be a great consultation. But I'm also a fan of having multiple consultations. So pay for this one and then go get some freebies and see what they have to say as well.
Cool. I'm going to be bringing your kit, the kit that you put together, Joe. I'm going to bring that with me just so that you know.
Yeah, the interview kit?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The consultation kit? Yeah. That's cool.
Yep.
Yeah, that's great, man.
And I'm going to be mentioning you, Spencer, in your videos in Pilofocus. Quite frankly, it's been quiet. I mean, that stuff came out, I think it was 2-3 years ago, and he offers it. He calls it scarless FUE, but he doesn't use the word Pilofocus. And if you look for Pilofocus, you really don't find it anywhere else.
Yeah.
So,
well, I mean, it's really a procedure that I know that he's still working on. And I think what happened was, people just get so fucking antsy that he wanted to stop talking about it. That's it.
Makes sense.
He's getting a lot of shit online. All right, man. Well, listen, I wish you the best of luck, and I'm glad you called. We're going to call it a night.
All right, man. Take it easy,
right.
you guys. Always great to hear from you.
Take care, man. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Joe, what do? I'm going to take the camera off of you.
I guess you have to. It's like my camera's still working. It's just somehow the connection isn't coming through. Not sure why.
That's right. We're ending the program anyway. Guys, I want to thank you for taking the time to tune in, listen to the show. All you guys who called in, that's great. This is a call-in show. That's what we're doing. That's why we're doing this live. Otherwise, we're just going to do some podcast. But people need to hear your stories, your experiences. That's why... essentially, that's why The Bald Truth has been able to last for 20 years, because there's really been nothing like it that has had any success on the air or on the internet ever. And it's because of you guys. It's because of our callers. So I definitely appreciate when you guys take the time to call in. Joe, your website, hairtransplantmentor.com. You guys should check it out. Also, obviously, check out Joe Tillman's YouTube page. And if you can, take the time to subscribe to Hair Transplant Podcast on YouTube. You're going to be getting a lot of great segments. We're working on it. We haven't put up a lot of content yet, but I have a lot of stuff in the can that will fuck you guys up. I mean, when you hear some of this undercover technician and undercover doc stuff that we are doing, or that I'm doing, it will absolutely kind of put things in a different perspective for you guys. And I think it's important that this stuff is out there. I'm talking to people, girls, guys, and doctors, both men and women, who are willing to come out and tell the truth, obviously, in the shadows, about what's really happening in the hair transplant industry. And it is fucking scary. The website's thebaldtruth.com for archives of this broadcast. Excuse me, if you're considering surgical hair restoration, check out the IHRS. That's the International Alliance of Hair Restoration Surgeons. That's IAHRS.org. Of course, the American Hair Loss website, which has not been updated since the Civil War. We're working on that. That is AmericanHairLoss.org. Listen, the American Hair Loss is the most referenced hair loss organization ever. You read an article about hair loss, they're referencing the American Hair Loss Association. And both of our organizations are, both the IHRS and the American Hair Loss Association, are the only organizations in hair ever to be endorsed by Consumer Reports. So it's a pretty big deal, and we're quite proud of that. So, we're trying to create a safe place for you guys to get the best information that's out there. Message forums. Even though I tell you guys to stay off the forum, I have a message forum. That's baldtruthtalk.com. You will see that there's a lot of people reading the forums. There is less insanity on our forum because it's fully moderated. So if you're not interested in being a part of a moderated forum, then go elsewhere. There's plenty of craziness out there. But if you want to get real information and be able to interact with other hair loss sufferers who are really actually trying to help each other, as opposed to destroy each other's egos and put each other down. And, this is I feel a much safer environment to get good information. But again, a lot of it's anonymous, so be careful. That's baldtruthtalk.com. Until next time, be strong, God bless, and thank you so much for listening.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry for any inconvenience you may have been put to prior to the program. And I'm glad you enjoyed it. And if you could now leave by the exits at the rear, that'd be splendid. Thank you.